Okay, good evening, everybody. We are at 1800, also known as 6 p.m. We're going to get started here. If everybody would join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. A few items to cover here for the Morrison County Board of Adjustment meeting December 10th, 2024. Please sign in at the door if you have not already done so. There you will find a detailed handout of the step-by-step procedure we will follow tonight if you wish to take one. Please put any electronic devices on silent mode at this time. Also, please note that all testimony is being recorded for the record. Members of the Board of Adjustment are appointed by the County Board of Commissioners with one member from each of the 5 commissioner districts. Land Services staff is here to assist the Board of Adjustments with its duties. The task of the Board of Adjustment is to consider requests for variances and appeals from an order, requirement, or decision made by a county zoning official in accordance with the state law and county ordinance. Each request is considered on its own merit. The burden of proving a practical difficulty rests with the applicant. If a variance is granted, it is granted to the land, not to the landowner. There's a protocol for how we will proceed tonight. For each variance request on the agenda, we will hear a staff report, testimony from the applicants. The board will discuss and gather more information as needed. Next, I'll ask if anyone in the audience wishing to speak to this request. I'll ask each party to come to the podium. Right up there, state your name and address for the record and give their testimony. Please be as factual as possible and direct all statements and questions to me. After all testimony is complete, I will close the public hearing portion of the process. The board will then review and discuss the case in terms of our finding of fact criteria as required by Minnesota statute and county ordinance. We'll have a series of votes, discuss whether conditions be made, and have a final motion to approve or deny the request based on those findings. After this final vote on your request, you may leave if you wish. And tonight we have 2 items on the agenda. The first one is Dale and Julie Watala, 24638 Hawthorne Road, Piers, Minnesota 56364, application for a variance to allow a Tier 2 feedlot to be on less than the required 75 acres. If you may join us up here at the front. And then once you have a seat, please state your name for the record.
Dale Vitala.
Julie Watella.
Thank you for joining us. Ms. Amy, staff report?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Again, this is a variance request to reduce the acreage of a Tier 2 feedlot to below the minimum of 75 acres, located in Section 28 of Boo Township. The ordinance reference for this request is 1209.1. That requires a minimum contiguous parcel of 75 acres. Here's a plat map of Boo Township, and the red dot is the location of the parcel. And then here's the variance application received from the applicant. And then also a site drawing provided by the applicant. Here's an aerial photograph of the property outlined in blue. So this 74.13 acre property is in Section 28 of Boo Township. A registered Tier 2 swine feedlot exists on the parcel. The barns are on the northwest portion of the property, and the feedlot operator's home is on the south end. The house does meet the 1,320-foot setback from the swine barns. The applicant would like to split the home and 5.34 acres from the 74.13 acre property to phase out of the feedlot operation and transfer the feedlot to their son. So here's another aerial image of the property, and outlined in red is the approximate lot split that they're looking to do with the home. The minimum acreage requirement for large-scale feedlots is 75 acres. The proposed land split would reduce the feedlot's acreage to 68.79. The applicant has other acreage within the county for manure management purposes. The applicable comprehensive land use plan goals is agriculture, goal A1, objective 1, goal A2, and A4. 19 notices were sent and no comment was received before the hearing. And then here are your finding of fact and decision questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Amy. How'd they do with the report?
It's perfect.
Awesome, and it sounds like the gentlemen up here all visited the property here on December 6th, and with Marv driving by, were you on that day too?
Yes, I was, and
Perfect.
I'm very familiar with the property. My daughter and husband almost live right across the road from me, Brittany and Zach Cumming. So,
All right, thanks. We'll open it up to the board here for questions and comments on the application.
Mr. Chair,
Brent?
just a couple questions. So, this is a 74.13 acre Tier 2, correct?
Correct.
And it didn't meet the 75. Did the 75 come in after the fact that it was a Tier 2, or was there I don't know who should answer that, Amy or the applicants?
I don't
Don't
think
know.
I don't think it was known that it was a hair under 75 until now.
Okay.
So I think when that, but you certainly can answer if you
Yeah,
know
that was
otherwise.
25 years ago, or bought at an auction,
All right,
so
so
where the whole farm was parceled up.
as it was?
Yep.
And operated it ever since that
Yeah.
way. So, okay, that kind of makes some sense then. And the acreage that you're looking at, taking off there, the 5 or 5.34, it looks like, that's been surveyed,
It has not yet been surveyed.
going to be surveyed, but it's going to be 5 or 5.34?
Yeah, to make it square, yep.
Okay. And none of that was really used as part of this Tier 2 in the past?
No, for manure, no.
Yeah, and
Nope.
from the looks of it, that's kind of what it looked like on the site visit out there as well, so I just wanted to clarify that. Thanks.
Thank you, Brent.
Mr. Chair?
Clint?
So I was looking at the plat map, you know, land around there, so I see some of the other land that you guys own. What direction's your son's farm from there?
Northeast,
Northeast. So does he live off of
25.
25 where you have that 146 acres?
Nope, 20 acres.
Okay, okay. Okay, so there's quite a bit of land, plus you rent quite a bit of land.
Not, I don't rent too much, no.
Not no more?
Most of
Okay.
it's their own.
Okay, but you have more than enough acres for
Yep.
the manure and all that stuff, okay. Okay, and then, that's what I'll add for questions, the only thing I'd maybe have a comment is, I don't know if you planned it this way or if it just worked out that way, but every one of these are different, you know? This one I think's a little more appealing, when we're thinking about doing this split because your house meets the setback from that hog barn. So I don't know if he did that intentionally or if it was just happened that way, but,
We
because
didn't want to be
now,
by it.
'cause-
They still stink to me.
yeah. But it does make for later on, cause we grant this to the land and if that wasn't that far away, somebody else is gonna own it someday. And, then it causes problems. So that's good for this application, so just wanted to put that comment out there. I think that's all I had, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Clint.
Mr. Chair,
Marv?
few comments. First, nice job in filling out the application. Very detailed, to the point, very understanding there. Nice and neatly done. The next point is, I was talking to Zach about this, and it sounds like you've been great stewards of the land, doing a good job, everything else. And the son, he worked with your son there for a while, said you won't have a problem with this here if you go this. So very supportive from a neighbor there also. So what I'm seeing, and piggyback off of what Clint said there, you meet all them setbacks, which is huge because as we're starting to see more and more of these homes breaking away from the farms, as people want to stay out there, what is the best way to do it? And it's great to see that you meet them setbacks.
Thank you, Marv. Any more questions, comments from the board members here? If not, we will go to the audience. Anybody in the audience wishing to speak to this application, please go up to the podium and state your name and address for the record and your facts. Any public comment? Any public comment? Any public comment? We will close this section of the meeting to the public, and we will bring it back to the board members here to go through the finding of fact criteria. Okay, question 1. Is the request in harmony with the general purposes and intent of the Morrison County Land Use Ordinance and Comprehensive Plan? Clint?
I believe it is. We allow this in ag. Yes, they're short a few acres, but I think with the surrounding available land that's there, this isn't an outreach too far out of bounds, I don't believe. I think meeting all the setbacks, when we look through the setbacks and the history of this particular application, I think, yes, it does meet the general purposes and intent of the ordinance, and it is in harmony, I believe.
Thank you, Clint. Anybody else? Okay, question 2. Is the applicant proposing to use the property in a reasonable manner not permitted by the land use ordinance? I'll take that one. Clint mentioned this. All of those setbacks are being met, and when you talk looking at breaking off the actual land itself, it equates just about 6%, which is more than reasonable. And in the area that it's located, you're near nothing. So it certainly says reasonable. Anybody else?
Yes, John. And the home will also be sitting on non-tillable acres, so it really doesn't change anything as far as for land use and that kind of stuff. It's a good spot for a home.
Yep. Thank you, George. Anybody else? Okay, question 3. Will the issuance of the variance maintain the essential character of the locality? Marv?
I believe it is. You got quite a variation in the ag area there, from the very large, like Cookie Stuckmeyer setup there, to the smaller setups. There other parcels around there, 5-10 acres. And you said you're not taking any ag property away, usable ag, and kudos to you for that. So, yeah, it will fit right in there very well. There won't be any changes.
Okay. Question number 4. Is the alleged practical difficulty due to circumstances unique to the property? Brent?
I think with this property, it kind of is. With the requirement to have 75 acres, it doesn't have that now. And so, but it is yet a Tier 2 farm, minus another 5.3 acres, puts you in that 69. It does reduce it some more. Our struggle with this is always to meet those setbacks, and a lot of times we're not able to meet those setbacks when there's not the 75 acres. This one actually meets the setbacks with the reduction of that 5.34, so that is part of the difficulty. You don't have the 75 acres to begin with, but yet you are what you are, and has operated that way. So I don't think this is going to change anything, but that's the practical difficulty, not having the acreage. So,
Thank you, Brent.
Mr. Chair, I'd just add, I agree totally with what Brent just said. Also, if you read in the application, the applicant stated in here too, reaching retirement age and son would like to take over the family farm. Will continue to own the house and assist them. His son lives a couple miles away. Part of the practical difficulty is some of this that it's stated right in what he said, the applicant said, is we're going to transition a lot of these farms over to the next generation, and a lot of times they ain't going to meet all the criteria that's set up within ordinances and things. And when we look at this application and being just a little bit short of the acreage, and I think that's putting a burden on this, But when you look at the supporting land that they have and nothing really changing as far as operation and meeting them setbacks, like Brent said, I think that, that kind of goes along with that practical difficulty.
Thank you, Clint. Okay. Question 5, is the need for the variance created by actions other than the landowner or prior landowners? George?
I believe so. It's a Tier 2 feed lot. Minimum acreage is 75 acres. The parcel's already below it at 74.13 acres, so it was below to start with. All the setbacks will be met. Applicants are aging out of their ability to effectively manage the farms, and their son's going to be taking it over. And, yeah, I think that it was created by when he bought the farm, when he bought that parcel at the Hapke auction. So that's when it was created.
Thank you, George. Question 6, does the alleged practical difficulty involve more than just economic considerations? Clint?
Yes, I don't know if it really involves much of economics as far as I look at it. Transition over to a family member, it just, they're just trying to do the right thing, trying to keep it going. Earlier, I asked Amy before the meeting, how the 75 acres ever came up. We don't really know. We come up with the idea, or our thoughts are that it just gives a nice natural buffer around some of these feedlots and farmsteads. And this one has that, and it's also in an area where there's quite a few feedlots. So I think it's so far off the road, and the house being so far away, I think it's just a really good fit. Not every one of these applications are a little different, but in my mind, this one's as close to ideal as you could get because of the distances and the locations of the different sites as far as the house, the grain bin site, and the hog barn. So that'd be kind of my question, or my answer to question 6.
Thank you, Clint. Anybody have anything to add? Hearing none, seeing none, we'll move on to the vote. Question 1, is the request in harmony with the general purposes and intent of the Morrison County Land Use Ordinance and Comprehensive Plan? Clint?
Yes.
John is yes. Marv?
Yes.
Brent?
Yes.
George?
Yes.
Question 2, is the applicant proposing to use the property in a reasonable manner not permitted by the land use ordinance? John is yes. Marv?
Yes.
Brent?
Yes.
George?
Yes.
Clint?
Yes.
Question 3, will the issuance of the variance maintain the essential character of the locality? Marv?
Yes.
Brent?
Yes.
George?
Yes.
Clint?
Yes.
John is yes. Question 4, is the alleged practical difficulty due to circumstances unique to the property? Brent?
Yes.
George?
Yes.
Clint?
Yes.
John is yes. Marv?
Yes.
Question 5, is the need for the variance created by actions other than the landowner or prior landowners? George?
Yes.
Clint?
Yes.
John is yes. Brent?
Yes.
Marv?
Yes.
Question 6, does the alleged practical difficulty involve more than just economic considerations? Clint?
Yes.
John is yes. Marv?
Yes.
Brent?
Yes.
George?
Yes.
All 6 of the questions were answered in the affirmative. Do I have a motion to approve?
Mr. Chair, I'd make the motion that we approve this variance request.
And I'll second that.
Motion was made by Clint Catherine, seconded by Brent to approve the requested variance. All in favor, say aye. Brent?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Marv?
Aye.
Clint?
Aye.
And I, John, is aye. The motion carries to approve the variance as requested. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to our second agenda item for the night, Kimberly Pop. you please come to the front here? And this is Kimberly Pop of 38079 168th Street, Hillman, Minnesota, 56338, application for a variance to allow a type 3 septic. Please state your name for the record.
Hi, I'm Kimberly K. Pop.
I'm Bob Bartel. I'm going to help her.
Thank you. Ms. Amy, staff report?
Yes, again, this is a variance request to allow the creation and development of a parcel that cannot support a type 1 septic system. This is located in section 27 of Lee Township. The ordinance references for this request is 1301.12 and 1501.4. Here's a plat map of Lee Township, and the red dot is the location of the property. And then here's the variance application received from the applicant, and a survey also provided by the applicant. Here's an aerial photograph of the property outlined in blue, and then also some oblique imagery. Then here are some site photographs of the building site taken at the site viewing. So the applicant owns and lives on this 40-acre parcel located in section 27 of Lee Township. The applicant is proposing to split the east 20 acres off of the property and offer it for sale for development. In preparation for the land split, a septic designer did the required soil borings to look for adequate soils for a standard type 1 septic system drain field. The designer could not find an area on the proposed parcel where soil conditions would allow a type 1 system. The applicant requests a variance to develop the lot and install a type 3 mound septic system. The designer has submitted a design for a type 3 system and has also identified a secondary site, and there's the site drawing there. A type 1 septic system is one that is designed according to Minnesota Rules 7080-2200 to 7080-2240. These systems utilize the on-site soils to provide septic treatment and are considered quote-unquote standard systems. Drain fields must have at least 3 feet of adequate soil to provide treatment of septic effluent. Type 1 systems include trenches, seepage beds, and at-grade systems. Mound systems can also be type 1 if at least 12 inches of the soil is utilized for septic treatment. The septic designer has determined that adequate soil separation does not exist on the property to install a type 1 drain field. For a type 1 mound system, at least 12 inches of separation between the soil and seasonally high water table is required. Those 12 inches of soil contribute to the 3 feet of soil treatment needed for septic effluent. 8 inches of separation was found on site. When soil conditions do not support a type 1 septic system, a type 3 system can be considered. A type 3 system is one that deviates from the requirements in Minnesota Rule 7080-2210 to 2240. These systems are considered alternative systems and have minimum design requirements in Minnesota Rule. In the case of a type 3 mound system, the entire soil treatment area is above the ground surface and the underlying soil is not relied upon to provide treatment. There is wetland on the property. The Morrison County Soil and Water Conservation District was on site and determined there is an upland area to construct a home. Wetland permitting has been obtained to fill wetland for the driveway extension, and then to the right is the drawing provided by the Soil and Water Conservation District. The building contractor has submitted a statement regarding the buildability of the site, and there's that email exchange, and that was included in your packet. The applicable comprehensive land use plan goals is residential goal B1, and then the following objectives. And then agriculture goal A1 and A2. And then the comprehensive water plan goals and objectives is the groundwater goal, objective D, land use and development goal. 16 notices were sent and no comment was received prior to the hearing. And then here's your finding of fact and decision questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Amy. Anything to add?
I'd like to add that our request is in harmony with the intent of the state law and the Morrison County ordinance as we've seen it. So I just wanted to go on the record that we feel like we've met those requirements.
Thank you very much. I will open this up to the board members here for questions or comments regarding this application.
Mr. Chair.
What?
Okay, when we were out there on the site visit and we walked around and looked at the stakes where you have the proposed area for that septic system, how far is that? You know, it don't really show, but how far could you estimate that that'd be from the new property line?
About 100 feet.
Okay,
I'm 80 feet off the wetlands.
okay. Because it's just hard once you get out there to really know, you know,
I
we go in
understand.
there, how far away you are
I
from them.
understand.
Yep, okay. That's when I was thinking after we left that day, I should have asked that at the site visit. Because once you get in there, it's, you know, you go quite a ways over to look at that, where that sewer was, and to go in, and it's just hard to look through the trees and see how far that was. So that not, even if you're off a few feet, we got plenty of room, so.
I'm allowing for quite a big mistake if that's the
Okay,
case.
yeah. Yeah. So that was one of my big things. And then I think it was stated that they got the okay from Soil and Water to go ahead and do the driveway in where it was. And then observing that, it's hard to tell till we get out there and look. And then when we were out there and looked, I think there's a really good building site in there, actually. It's just the soil type, because it's so wet around there, doesn't allow for the 12 inches of separation. But when we look at elevations, and if you're gonna be water problems and with the wetlands there, I think that's a very nice building site, actually, with enough elevation. That'd be my question and my comment.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Clint.
I
George?
guess my comment would be is that, you know, there was a lot of mature oak trees out there, probably 75 to 100 years old. And of course, oak trees don't grow in swamps, so it takes care of that. And there's birch trees, and Brent and I did walk out there and look at where all your stakes were and figured out what the layout was gonna be. And yeah, I think I agree with Clint. It's a very good spot to build a home.
Mark?
Chair, something that we, in Morrison County, agriculture takes precedence over everything else. And as you look at this piece of property, there's no way, shape, and form that this is going to ever be used in agriculture. So as both Clint and George stated, excellent building site other than being low. And then if you go ahead and you're allowed to put a type 3 system, fit in well like that, and there's enough acreage there. So I think this is a good site for that.
Thank you, Marv. Any other comments, questions? Hearing none, we're going to open this portion up to the public. Any public comment wishing to speak to this request, go up to the podium and please state your name and address for the record. Any public comment?
Good evening. My name is Jesse Jaskolka, and I live at 8701 Green Meadow Road in Malacca, Minnesota, in Mille Lacs County. Hopefully not for much longer, though. If you guys approve this split, my wife and I will be purchasing this land and building a home. And as you saw from the letter from my contractor, Terry, he feels that it's a very buildable piece of land. And we have nothing but positive intentions. We're good stewards of the land. Right now, we live on 8 acres in Mille Lacs County. We are beekeepers. We don't use any pesticides. We're organic gardeners. And so we're very much about being good stewards of the land. And so we have nothing but positive intentions for this piece of property if it is allowed to be split and sold. My builder, Terry, is feeling a little under the weather today, so he did not join, but if the board has any questions about our intentions with the land, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you.
Should I sit down?
You're good. To ask 3 times. Any public comment? Any public comment? Okay, we will close this section of the meeting to the public. Any final comments or questions from the board members before we go to the questions? Okay, Question number 1, is the request in harmony with the general purposes and intent of the Morrison County Land Use Ordinance and Comprehensive Plan? George?
Yes, I believe it is. The area is rural in nature. It's poor quality ag land at best. And we walked back in there, to me, it is very suitable for a residence and for a type 3 septic system.
Thank you, George. Anybody else? Question 2, is the applicant proposing to use the property in a reasonable manner not permitted by the land use ordinance? Clint?
Yes, when we look at our ordinance, in our comprehensive plan, we're trying to protect in ag zoning, we're trying to protect the ag land as much as we can. This is ag zoning, but we also want to work with residents and having as much people live in harmony in the ag land and have residents out there. So when we look at this, there isn't much farming that's going to happen there as far as tillage. But you can maybe look at the forestry aspect of that. But when we're looking at building sites out in ag, I think this one's very suitable. Is it reasonable? Because it's not permitted as far as the sewer goes. It's not permitted, but it's allowed through the variance process. So when we look at everything, wanting to do the split, we're not splitting it into 1 acre, we're splitting it into 20 acres. It's in ag zoning, poorer ag land, a good building site. So I really do think that it is reasonable for not being an actual permitted sewer system, but it is allowed through this variance process. So I would have to say yes for question 2.
Thank you, Clint. Any others? Okay, question 3, will the issuance of the variance maintain the essential character of the locality? That one I will take. As you heard from the notes in the builder and even Soil and Water said this is the way to actually go here, and it's not like it's going to necessarily be an eyesore with the other homes that are constructed in the area at this time. So we're not, like you said, splitting it off from 20 acres instead of an acre. We're not changing anything from a character perspective. Anybody else? Okay, question 4. Is the alleged practical difficulty due to circumstances unique to the property? Marv?
I believe it is, and as they stated in their application, that it didn't meet the 12-inch boring sample. They had 8 inches. And as board members walked back there, looked like you got hardwoods, oaks and all there. Looked like there'd be plenty of dry enough, but through the years with the way they do the soil borings now to see what should be out there, it doesn't meet that 12-inch, which is basically the practical difficulty. As the rest we can see, it does fit.
Thank you, Marv. Okay, question 5. Is the need for the variance created by actions other than the landowner or prior landowners? Brent?
Yeah, I think I made a note down here earlier. No human created the lack of sufficient topsoil. It's kind of the lay of the land in southeast Morrison County. That whole area down there doesn't have a whole lot of topsoil in it. So trees there, but no human created that. It's got 8 inches, but not 12, so there's a need for a variance to have that septic tier 3, and that doesn't necessarily require that topsoil because you're going to add and put more into that. So that's why you're needing the variance, and that's created by nobody other than the landowner or other landowners.
Thank you, Brent. Anything to add?
Mr. Chair, I'd just like to add that what some of Brent's comments I agree totally with, but I figure maybe on the record is, we don't necessarily say that we love tier 3 sewer systems, okay? But when we look at this site, it maybe goes to the practical difficulty as much as this landowner thing is, it doesn't this site doesn't allow us to put a normal sewer system in. It has to be a type 3 if we're gonna allow building. Well, when we look through this whole thing, and it meets pretty much what the county goals are, other than the soil boring, and when you go out there and look at it and say, look at the elevation on where they're gonna build, it fits, it just don't fit with the soil boring. So I just wanted to say that it's actually kind of surprising when you actually get out there and look on what the elevation actually is, that the soil boring wasn't up to snuff, let's say. So I just wanted to put them comments in there for that question and probably for the practical difficulty also.
Thank you, Clint.
Mr. Chair?
Marv?
So I also want the applicants and others to know, we've approved quite a few type 3 systems lately. Years past, I think there were type 1s put in, quite a few of them, there where they shouldn't have been. And as time goes on, I think the county is trying to do their best to be better stewards of the land and making sure we're not contaminating our water. So the type 3 obviously is not going to be contaminating it. So we've allowed quite a few of these, and in that area, that's where majority of have been.
Thank you, Marv. Okay, question 6, does the alleged practical difficulty involve more than just economic considerations? George?
Yes, I believe it does. The bottom line is the soil type does not support a type 1 septic system. It is a very buildable lot by the elevation and the type of vegetation that exists there today. So it does involve more than economic considerations.
Thank you, George. Okay, seeing, hearing none, no additional comments, we'll move on to the vote. So question 1 is the request in harmony with the general purposes and intent of the Morrison County Land Use Ordinance and Comprehensive Plan. George?
Yes.
Clint?
Yes.
John is yes. Marv?
Yes.
Brent?
Yes.
Question 2, is the applicant proposing to use the property in a reasonable manner not permitted by the Land Use Ordinance? Clint?
Yes.
John is yes. Marv?
Yes.
Brent?
Yes.
George?
Yes.
Question 3, will the issuance of the variance maintain the essential character of the locality? John is yes. Marv?
Yes.
Brent?
Yes.
George?
Yes.
Clint?
Yes.
Question 4, is the alleged practical difficulty due to circumstances unique to the property? Marv?
Yes.
Brent?
Yes.
George?
Yes.
Clint?
Yes.
John? John is yes. Question 5, is the need for the variance created by actions other than the landowner or prior landowners? Brent?
Yes.
George?
Yes.
Clint?
Yes.
John is yes. Marv?
Yes.
Question 6, does the alleged practical difficulty involve more than just economic considerations? George?
Yes.
Clint?
Yes.
John is yes. Marv?
Yes.
Brent?
Yes.
All of the questions were answered in the affirmative. Is there a motion to approve the variance?
Mr. Chair, I'd make that motion.
Okay, thank you,
Mr.
Brent.
Chair, I'll second that.
Thank you, Marv. Motion was made by Brent and seconded by Marvin to approve the variance as requested. All in favor, say aye. Brent?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Marv?
Aye.
Clint?
Aye.
And I, John, is aye. Motion carries to approve the variance as requested. Thank you. You are free to go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
You got done with your award ceremony early, huh?
Yeah, it turned out pretty good.
Not good.
Yeah. it
So
was
it's been a
all-
good evening for you.
Oh, yeah. The best.
Good to
Enjoy
hear.
the rest of it.
So they give you a check for $10 on the way out the door?
No, I got a nice gift card and some cash and a nice prime dinner, you know.
Well,
Yeah, it was good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Agenda item next is to, any questions, discussions around the minutes from October 15th?
Yeah, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Sharon, I have one question. If you look down on the paragraphs, so down 1, 2, 3, whatever, where I speak, where my name is. Okay, just a little bit confused on that first sentence. Stated there were before or now all gone? Trees, is that what it is? Trees. Okay, that's maybe where I was screwy, okay. Other than that, Mr. Chair, I'd like to approve the minutes from October 15th.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. The ayes have it. Minutes approved. New business?
I don't have any, Mr. Chair, and I don't have any old business either.
No new or old business. It brings us to agenda item D.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Meeting adjourned at 6:42 PM.